Another type of animation that can be applied to your presentation to add visual interest is a transition, and that is the animation that happens between the slides in your presentation. So as you move from slide 1 to slide 2, what happens? Does a slide just appear, or is there some kind of transitional effect? That's what we're going to look at right now with our tour presentation, and we'll go to slide number 1 and start there. Now when you look to the left-hand side of the thumbnails in the navigation pane, you'll get a hint as to whether there's any animation or transitional effects that have been applied. Right now next to slide 1 there's nothing. Next to slide 2 we do see the little star indicating there are some animation effects on that slide. So with slide number 1 selected, we'll go to the ribbon and click Transitions. Totally dedicated to transitional effects that can be applied to your slides. And the very first group that we see here is Transition to this slide. So what's going to happen to take us to this slide? And down below are the options, and you can see they're all named: cut, fade, push, and so on. We can use the arrow at the right to scroll through the list, or click the drop down arrow to see all of them in groups: subtle, exciting, and dynamic down at the bottom. So let's just start with maybe an exciting one, like ripple, for example. When you click ripple, you're going to see how the slide appears in that ripple effect. You'll also see the icon that appears now next to the thumbnail under slide 1, indicating there is a transition effect that's been applied to this one slide. If you want to apply it to all of your slides, you'll notice there is a button on the far right-hand side of the ribbon to have this transition applied to all of the slides in your presentation. That's not a bad idea. You want to keep things consistent and avoid distracting your audience with too many effects. So that's a very good button if you have, a medium to small presentation. If you've got a very lengthy presentation that's broken up into sections like ours, you might consider applying the effects to the various sections. So you might use 3 or 4 different transition effects throughout your entire presentation. Let's click Introduction right at the top. That selects all of the slides in the group. And now we'll try a different transition. We'll click the drop down. And let's go to Vortex. I like that one. We're going to see a quick preview of that on our first slide. And you'll also notice in the thumbnail section here of our navigation pane, we've got that little icon appearing next to each of the thumbnails in this group. As we scroll down to the next section, which is History, notice that icon does not appear there. So let's click History, and we'll apply an effect to that section by clicking the drop down. We'll try something different. How about glitter? See a quick preview. Very cool effect. And we'll scroll down now to the next group or section called Sales Information. Select it by clicking right on the name. Let's try one more. We'll click the drop down. Let's go down to the dynamic ones now, see what we've got here. For example, maybe orbit would be cool. There we go. Nice effect. It's been applied to all of the slides in that section. The only other section left is our conclusion, and we don't have to apply any transitions to that. There are some other options now. Let's just go back to the very top. And we'll click on the Introduction heading to select the slides in that section. You'll see the effect kind of appears here with effect options. You can click that drop down though and change some of these options. Right now the vortex is from the left. You can have it coming from the top, right, or bottom. Let's change it to top and see what that looks like. And there it goes. Very cool effect. It takes 4 seconds by default, but we can change that up too. If you think it takes too long, just bump it down by 1/10 of a second using the down arrow, or back up using the up arrow, or type in a value. I'm just going to type in 2, so it only takes 2 seconds. And we're going to test that out now by clicking play. Notice it popped back to 3.5, so when you come inside here with it selected and type 2, you need to either press return or tab. That's to lock it in. And now we'll play it again. That's a little quicker and less distracting. The only other thing that's kind of interesting is you can add sound to it as well. When you click the sound drop down, you'll see a number of built-in sounds to choose from. So if we wanted to, we could scroll through this list, finding something that goes with our vortex. Let's see what ooh sounds like. And now when we click play, doesn't really apply, and in fact it might be too distracting, so we'll go back and select right at the top, None. Now by default, every time you click, you're going to move from one slide to the next. And you'll notice on mouse click has been used in this particular transition by default. But if you want it to automatically play, let's say you're doing a self-running slideshow at a kiosk. In that case, you'd want to choose a timing. So you take on mouse click off by selecting the checkbox, click after, and then choose the number of seconds before it moves to the next slide. So of course you probably want to read what's on the slide and gauge how long a slide needs to appear. In this case we'd be applying it to every slide in this section because that's what we've done. We selected all of the slides, but you could do it for each individual slide as well. I'm going to turn that off and go back to on mouse click. If we really want to see the effect, we'll click the slideshow button. There's the first slide using the effect. Click again. See how it goes to the next slide using the same effect. You'll see the animations we applied in the previous lesson. Click again to move to the next slide, and it's a very consistent look. When we get to the end of the slide in our first section and go on to the next one, we see the new effect. Kind of a cool effect. Press Escape to go back to editing your presentation, and now you know that adding transitions to the slides in your presentation can really add that wow factor, keep your audience engaged, and keep it exciting.